Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are with episode number 38, and I'm just so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I just want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that will energize your social media marketing, and it's going to help you stay social and grow your business. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? Because I know I do. And I am so stoked today to have a longtime colleague of mine. I've known him from way back, Rob Fortier, with me. And Rob, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Lorraine. Thanks for having me today.
I am just it's so neat to meet up with people that you've met with years ago, and then all of a sudden you disappear and then we meet up again. But I want to ask you a big question, just, for my audience here. Could you just tell a little bit about yourself and what you do for your business and how you help people?
Sure. I am a content marketing coach. So what I specialize in doing is helping coaches, solopreneurs, consultants, small business people, create more leads and more sales, but do it with copy a lot of times, with email. I mean, building an email list is so crucial to every business on the planet. I mean, almost every entrepreneur I talk to, when I say, hey, what would be the thing if you could start over? What would you do first? They'd be like, I would have started my email list so much earlier than I ever did. So, but the problem for a lot of folks is they know it's this important thing, but then once they get names on it, they don't know what to do with it. They think every time they send out emails, they're bothering people, even though people signed up, and they don't want to be too salesy. Sometimes they don't make enough offers. And then they're in between, where they just need to be offering good content, good value to their subscribers. They're kind of unsure. And then throw in the whole mix of, I'm not a really great writer. And then, it's all bets are off. It's like, I'll email them like once every 6 months. So I help with people to realize that these people on their email list, they're people you should be forming a relationship with, right? These are not numbers. They're not just names. They're not dollar signs. They're people. And so if you want them to be responsive to emails you send them when you actually have something to sell, you need to give them value and nurture the relationship with them. It's kind of like, if you get someone on the list, that's like your first date. And then, if by the second date, you're like, well, do you want to get married? It's like, whoa, it's a big reaction to that. So, but if you ask them out on a second date, and then maybe you bring them flowers to the third date, and you nurture that relationship. And the same thing is with an email list. So that's what I really help people do. I know that was a very long answer to your question, but
no, it's great. You said two key things in there. Well, one is email marketing, and one is that once people sign up for email and they get their CRM and they get a few people that are in their email list, they don't know what to do. So you said that. And then the other thing that's really important, you talked about that it helps you create relationships. And really, that's what your writing does. It ultimately it's going to help you create relationships. And it's funny how you use that analogy of a date, because there's a book out there called The 12 Stages of Intimacy. And, when you think about all with the date to actually, the marriage or going to bed, you're not going to, at the first date, you're not going to ask somebody to go to bed with you. Well, maybe somebody would, but the bottom line is that you want to get to know somebody before you share the most intimate details with each other. And the same thing, it's with marketing, online marketing, it's a different animal. It's not like, hey, Rob, why don't you buy my stuff? Because that's what a lot of people are doing. And that's what's not supposed to do. So when you think about that, relationships and email, and there's certain copy that you have to write about, what would you think is the most important thing that somebody should do when they're sitting down for the first time and writing some marketing copy?
A couple of things come to mind is, don't worry about it being perfect. That is the thing, about saying the absolute perfect thing. these are people you want to talk to. So just talk to them, teach them about something that you learned recently, give them some resources. Think of it more like a conversation with someone that you want to get to know better rather than that I'm going to talk at you. Advertising and marketing has changed so much over the years. And we used to sort of think of it as I'm going to broadcast to you and I'm going to just tell you stuff. And now it's really a dialogue. So I would say the first thing is just to really relax and say, if this person was sitting across from me, well, what I want to tell them about what's happening in my business, or what do I think that they need to know that would help them with whatever they're working on with their business or their marketing or, whatever obstacles that they are facing. So talk to them casually and just get onto the page, right? Consistency is another big thing of that too. And that means different things to different people. Some people want to send out a newsletter or an email every week, and that's a lot for some people. But some people would be better off just doing it once a month. Once a month is way better than doing it once a year or twice. So consistency, because what you do is when you show up consistently is people learn to expect your emails, and if it's got good content in it, they want to read it. So you're sort of training them to say, oh, this is, when the next thing from Rob is going to come, and it always has great stuff in it. I'm going to make sure I open that. So then when you do make some kind of sales offer, they're used to getting your emails and they're used to opening them. And then they'll be like, oh, and I always got this thing that I really maybe could use. I'm going to really consider that because he's provided me so much great value. So relax, talk to people. And the other thing is be consistent, whatever that means to you. Every week, twice a month, once a month, but don't make it a once a year thing or only when you want to sell something.
Yeah, I so agree with you. So many people will say to me, well, I sent out an email 5 months ago and nobody bought anything. So email marketing doesn't work. And it's also funny how you also mentioned that, people, if you're consistent, people are going to start to expect your emails. And it's interesting. I never really thought much about that statement at all because until I should say I missed 2 weeks in a row. And literally somebody wrote me, Lorraine, did I somehow get off your email list? Because I haven't gotten an email. I literally did not think anybody was ever reading my email.
Yeah.
So it's funny. And to speak to that a little bit, I just want to say one thing, email marketing is very finicky, and you have something called an open rate and how many people are actually opening your emails. I don't want people to get too discouraged with the open rates because that's going to happen. But if you email every week and you take people off that haven't opened in a year or two, your email open rate is going to get better. So a lot of people get discouraged with that. I think it used to be a good email open rate was over 20%. But now I think it's more a little bit above 14, 15% now.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, because people are busy. I mean, not everybody has time to read every email, or they open it and they say, oh, I'll get back to that later. And then they forget until they get the next one. But also, too, I would say if people haven't opened your emails in a while, say it's been 6 months, rather than just remove them from your list, maybe you reach out to them, send them a personal email or reach out to them through a different channel and say, hey, you've been on my list for a really long time. I'd like to keep you, but you're not opening my emails. Are they getting to you? I mean, I actually had that problem recently with a very good friend who was like, I haven't gotten any emails from you in the last 6 months. And I checked my email provider and they had all gone. They all went to a spam. So once he made the adjustment, they were going in. So, you've worked hard to get people on your list probably. So I wouldn't give up on them automatically. I would see what you can do, because maybe they truly aren't interested and they've just been too lazy to unsubscribe, or maybe they're not getting them. And so it would be worth checking in with them.
No, that's good. That's a good point. I mean, I have so much stuff that's going into spam now, and I don't even know why some of it goes into spam. Interesting. Something I want to ask you is that it has a lot to do with how you write things, but when you get an email in your email box, you either open it or don't open it. And really what entices you to open it is that subject line.
Yeah.
And so what I want to ask you, is there any secret that you have when it comes to writing subject lines on your email marketing?
Yes, there are some secrets. But one of the tips I will tell you is something that I use a lot is to, a friend of mine coined this, shop in your own closet. If you subscribe to a lot of email lists, start taking note of the emails you get that you open. That what are the subject lines, and then take those and start a file for them, so that when you need inspiration, you're not necessarily going to use it word for word, but it gives you an idea of the style, of the structure. Say, hey, that resonated with me. I bet this would resonate with my subscribers too as well. So shop in your own closet, shop in your own email inbox for ideas. But I always tell people that it's just about, you can put so much pressure on yourself to get the perfect thing. So I tell people one great way to do it is ask people a question, right? If you know people are struggling with something, questions make great subject lines because people go, yeah, I am having that. What's he going to talk about? So I also like to throw people off with odd things. There's a coach I used to work with who actually he recently sent me an email, and the subject line was things I learned in a Starbucks bathroom. And I was like, okay, that is really weird, but I totally want to open this because it's funny. So you can make people laugh, right? That's a really good tip too. And say oddball things, right? A lot of times when we write these emails, we're using experiences from our own lives and tying it into something that relates to this person, like it adds value, teaching something. So, it can be off the wall too. It doesn't have to be perfect. But yeah, if you can make somebody laugh or ask a question that invokes a problem that they're having, those are two really great ways to write the subject lines, I think.
Yeah, no, it just, you saying that, things that I learned in a Starbucks bathroom reminds me of this. When I was about 16 or 17 years old, now I'm dating myself. I used to work in this mall that had a grocery store, and I would get paid on Friday. And the first thing I would do is I would run over to the record store, and I was going to get the latest record. Okay. And I think that I didn't have the Yes Roundabout album. So that is what I was going to purchase with my paycheck. And so I went in and I'm looking at all the records, and there's so many of them, and I wanted them all. And this one stood out to me. And this is what I want to say, this is why I'm telling the story, is the one that stood out to me. It was a National Lampoon album. And it said, if you don't buy this album, we'll shoot the dog. And they had a gun to the dog's head. And it was like, well, National Lampoon, funny, and I'm thinking, yeah. But I was so sad about that dog. I had to buy the album. So I used my money that week to buy that album because 1, it caught my attention. 2, it stirred me to move right away because I didn't want the dog to get shot, even though I knew really in my head the dog wasn't going to be shot. But the bottom line is that that's what happens in the email box. I mean, I clear out my email box, and I have a lot. I get 31,000 emails in a week sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I start clearing it out. And the ones that the subject lines that stick out to me, or if it's from somebody I know, I will open it. And so I want to encourage the audience out there to just try to pick a headline, a subject line that's gonna really stick out. And maybe it could be as much as solving a problem, that email that the subject line has some kind of problem that's going to be solved in that email, because people need problem solved. They need a solution to whatever's hurting them.
Yeah.
So a couple things about writing newsletters, writing any kind of even social media posts and stuff with copy. Is there anything that you suggest? Some people will suggest you should have a call to action, asking somebody to do something all the time. Do you agree with that? Or is there something else that you think that should be done when writing copy? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, a couple of things. I do agree that things should have a call to action, but they shouldn't necessarily it's not a buy me thing. I do a lot of times in my emails say, hey, did something in this email resonate with you? Or are you having this problem too? I'd love to hear about it. So what it does, just hit reply and let me know. So it gets people to actively engage and reply to emails. So I'm a big fan of that in social media and in also with writing, is to ask them to do something, because then they're paying attention and you're getting responses. It's also giving you a sense of what people want and more of. If you get very little attention on certain emails, that's maybe not the things that they want to hear about it. But you send out another one and 5 people respond, then you've hit the nail on the head with something like that. But in terms of writing the content, I always tell my secret to this writing is to start in the middle. So what a lot of people do is they sit down, they've got a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen, and they're staring at it. And the first thing they want to do is come up with the title, which is the worst place to start. So then the second thing they want to do is they want to write the opening paragraph. And they think they need this really, it has to be a great story, it has to be this or that. And sometimes you have those. Sometimes that's what sparks the rest of the article. But a lot of times you have something you want to share or teach your audience. That's the middle part of your email. So start there. Start with the meat of an article. Like if it's 5 points to help you do, get better at, cleaning your house, write those things first, right? Write the 5 points out, write a couple of sentences. That's all you really need. And then you're like, okay, I've got the hard part done. I know what this is about. And then you can go back and write the beginning with it, tie it in with a story or however you want to start it, wrap it up at the end with a call to action that resonates with people. And then you're in a good place to say, okay, I know what this is all about. Now, what's a great headline that fits this article that I've already created? So sometimes, again, you get the ideas for the beginning or the headline first, but most often than not, that idea is going to come to you later after you've written the meat of what you want to talk about. So that's my secret for getting that stuff done. Start in the middle. Don't start at the beginning.
That's great. Other people have said start at the end. Whenever I've tried that method, I've always just ended it. So it just doesn't work for me. It's like, well, I have the ending. That's good enough for me. So here's my last question, and then I'll ask you a couple ending questions, but I guess not really question. But my question would be, is that what if, you're a business owner and you're really struggling in this area of writing copy? Mm-hmm. What is, I know that I do a lot, I give out a lot of content. I do podcasts, I do some newsletters, I do social media posts. I also do social media posts for other people. And every once in a while I get something called writer's block. Literally I have no idea what to write. And, no matter what I start, it's horrible. What would you tell somebody who's having problems with writing and writer's block?
I, first of all, if I was that stuck, I would go do something else. I always look for other creative inspiration. I also I'm a certified creativity coach. I don't practice in that area much anymore, but I'm always about, okay, you're creative people, you've got a block. What do we do? So go do something else. Do something that inspires you. Do something completely different than writing, whether that's go listen to music and dance around or go for a walk or exercise or cook or something. Do anything else that gets you out of that mindset, because a lot of times what happens, and I discovered this in school a long time ago with math problems, is that your brain works on stuff when you're not focused on it. So if you're trying to come up with content and you kind of know what it's going to be about, but you're really stuck, going away from it, your subconscious is going to keep mulling that in the background. And chances are you're going to be doing something else, like washing dishes, and be like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's the idea I've haven't been able to put my finger on. So, because it just helps your whole body and your brain relax, and gives you the freedom to sort of, okay, let's regroup, what's going on. So that is always a big step I tell people, is just to shake it up. But also look through other people, look for inspiration, right? There's so much great content in the world. If you're writing and trying to write something for social media, go look at social media accounts that inspire you, right? What approaches are they taking? Obviously, we're not going to copy what they're doing, but sometimes just getting a different perspective on things really helps you be able to be like, oh, I see they're doing it like this. They're taking a much different approach. So what if I, came at this from a different angle? How much easier would that be from a right? Or do I get different ideas from it? So those are two things I would recommend to sort of shake it up and get those pages filled.
Great. You recently, in an email you wrote me, you had said you just finished writing a little PDF on Write Articles, Fast Formulas, 7 steps to quickly create engaging content. And I think that's the key there. Is, so you want to maybe talk about one of the most important steps in that when it comes to creating engaging content.
Yeah. Well, I did share one of the secrets was to start in the middle, but the thing about engaging content is, there are several keys to that. One is, in this day and age of short attention spans, is to keep things that you write short. Unless you're writing a blog post that's, you need those to be longer for search engine optimization reasons. Those are like 1,500 words, but you can send out an article or a newsletter that's 300 to 500 words. So that is one of the keys to keeping it engaging, because if I open this email and it's just like this long thing, all of a sudden my brain just goes, ugh, I don't have time to read it, even though it's probably not that long. That's where I go. So that's one key to it. But also, you want to make sure you're talking about things that are of value to your audience. That is, I think, the key to engagement. And you take different approaches to make it fun and interesting. But if you're just talking at them or just promoting, that's not engaging. So you really have to sort of think about, okay, what is my audience struggling with? What are the problems they need help with? What do they need solved? What solutions can I offer them? So I think that's a big thing that a lot of people miss, is they just think they need to just send something out, when really you just always keep that word value in mind. How am I adding value to my subscribers' lives? Why are they on this list, and why are they going to stay on it? Because I'm giving them stuff that they want. And that's such a big key, I think, to engagement, is giving them things that they need and are useful for them.
Yeah, that's the big thing when it comes to, I think short is better. That's how I go about. I know, I understand that, like, when you're writing sales copy, it's a little bit different, but I always feel like that my sales copy, I always make it short, just because, I know when I actually go, if the link is on the bottom, I go straight. If I want it, I'm not going to read all the sales copy. I'm going to go right to the bottom. That's why, like, when I make sales copy, I always put the link, the button on the top. So for all those people who don't want to read more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's for all those people who are in their Kobe A, their low fact finder people.
They just want to get to it. Yeah, they want to get it. And that's what you say, putting that at the top. I do that sometimes too. I put it in the middle and then at the bottom. But even with like sales copy, yeah, you're right. You can keep it short. You're like, what's the problem you're solving? What are the benefits? What do I get from this? And here's how to get it. That's basically the bulk of those kinds of things. And a little prompter, do it now before I raise the price, or something like that. Like, that's to get them motivated, inspire them to take action.
Shoot the dog.
Oh, shoot the dog. Yes.
I've always wanted to try that, but I figured in today's world, you never know who you might offend. So I decided, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
But I was going to, I just want to thank you, for coming on to my podcast. And
thank you.
I know you offer a lot of services. Is there anything that you'd like to share with my audience that, they can download, or anything that you're, offering as a service? Feel free to share that now.
That'd be awesome. So, we talked about some tips about how to write stuff quickly. So I do have a PDF guide that Lorraine mentioned. It's about writing articles quickly, and you can get that at writefastguide.com. That's write, WRITE, like you're writing, fastguide.com, and download it. And it gives you the 7 steps to put together something you can use for a newsletter, or expand it to put a blog post. And it's got that tip of start in the middle. And also at the end of it, I go more into depth about writing headlines. So if you want some more information about some other tricks about how to write headlines, and those I mentioned, that's in the guide as well too. So writefastguide.com, you can go ahead and get that.
Awesome. Thank you again. And I just want to thank all of you out there that are listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. And I am looking forward to the following week. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.